Commisar Krassus was not required to concern himself with the nature of his orders. His job was to enforce them, and by the Emperor he would do that. The fact that the governor he was charged with protecting had turned to chaos was not his concern. If Valor Adressis was now a traitor, so be it. Though Krassus would rather have her killed, he had strict orders to return her alive, and for as long as he could remember, he had dedicated himself to enacting orders. The Deltic Gorgons understood him before he'd finished the sentence. It was a rare day when they had to be told twice to do something. The Catachans, however, were a miserable lot at the best of times. That he had to kill 2 of them to reinforce a point was to their dishonor, and a use of resources that he could scarcely afford. He'd used up most of his plasma pistol's recharges already against the Tyranids.
Commisar,
came a Vox message. It was Tempesta Prime Cadmer.
The tunneling creature is dead. Slain Monotron reports suggest 2 more beneath the quadrangle. Exits are 424 northwest. Proceed.
The difference, Krassus thought, between the Tempesta Prime and the milling Catachans was there in that one message. Efficiency, clarity, and a plan for getting out of this hellhole as quickly as possible. Proceed, Gorgon. Krassus turned to the squads of nerve-shattered soldiers crouched within the corridors of the quadrangle.
Right, you lot. We're going out that door. I'll lead.
He added a final comment.
Let's see if you can kill more of those creatures than I do this time.
Wound up, and finally full of proper aggression, the Catachans followed him through the rubble-strewn passage. That they were itching to kill him was fine. So long as their fury was directed at the Tyranids, he might finally get this mission completed. At that moment, another beast burst up ahead of them, shaking the compound and sending debris clattering against the walls in clouds of ash. Another explosion came from behind the Catachans, and yet another Tyranid monster rose up from underneath the palace. This time, dozens of smaller fiends emptied out around them. Krassus drew his power sword and screamed for the Catachans to open fire. Lasgun fire burst through chitin, hurling Xenos to the ground and sending shards of shrapnel skimming through the corridors. Krassus leapt through the darkness, skewering anything that moved and firing his plasma pistol into the swarm. Tempesta Prime Cadmer kicked down one of the side doors. Scions emptied into the confines and, pressing against the wall, filtered down towards him. It was only then that Krassus noticed the strange symbols daubed on the walls in blood. The corrupted icons painted by a corrupted governor.
Exit Corridor 4 is clear, but you'll need to fight through creatures in Sector Alpha 4 first.
Cadmer voxed.
Do we have your permission to secure your exit, Commisar?
Krassus fired at another lurching form incessantly, burning through the thing's carapace before replying. You do? The Scions with the governor are to follow us and keep her controlled. You cover the Catachans. I've got them functioning properly now.
Sir!
With that, Cadmer led his mag-booted Scions back through the side corridor, their monoscopes piercing the clouds of smoke. The next thing that Krassus heard was hotshot weaponry boring through chitin and the screech of Xenos things dying in large numbers. It was a beautiful sound. There was a spirited determination about the Catachans now. Krassus waved for them to follow through a corridor teeming with Tyranid creatures, and the Astra Militarum soldiers began to impress Krassus with their bold attacks. Red lines of lasgun fire brought down the darting creatures in the distance, and those close up were savaged by quick Catachan blade work and the sheer bloody-minded will to kill. When their knives became lodged in alien carcasses or were swallowed by gaping maws, the Catachans smashed back with bare fists or the butts of their lasguns. The casualties were horrendous. and those soldiers who were mauled amongst a flood of teeth and claws screamed out their rage and agony. But it was a defiant sound, one that drove the remaining warriors onwards. Why, Krassus thought, couldn't they fight like this earlier? The walls and floors became thick with bodies, but as they fought through to the exit corridor, the Commissar saw only another Imperial victory. After checking that the governor was still alive and in the Scions' control, he voxed his location through to Cadna and called for the rest of the 99th Delta Gorgons to follow them out of the compound.
Leave your explosives,
he added,
and get out of there.